What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My gosh, look at this beautiful day. Wow. Excuse the helmet hair. Today, we're going over some tips on how to pass your Canam 3-wheel course. Now what I'll be going over is mostly for the Ryker, but some of these apply to the Spyders as well. Now I know some of you guys are probably nervous for the course, if you're gonna have a good or bad instructor, but I'm here to help you. I got your back. Now guys, before it leaves my mind, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It helps me grow. I'm very thankful for everyone who has already subscribed to me. Thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the bell to receive the notifications on when I drop a new video. Now, first things first, when you start the course, it's gonna be broken down into a riding session and some classroom sessions. Usually it's about half and half riding, half in classroom. Just as knowledge, y'all, I took my class in Missouri. Your class might vary just a bit based on where you live. So when you guys first walk out to the bikes and your instructor's telling you where to go, what to do, the first thing you're gonna do is get familiar with the bike and its controls. So the controls on this bike are pretty basic. On the left side of the handlebars, you've got your low and high beams, you've got your turn signals, and to turn the signal off, you have to push in. Also, you have the horn button. All right, moving to the right just a tad, we have the dash cluster. On the left side of the screen, you will have the gas gauge. On the right side of the screen, you will have the engine temperature. On the middle, you will have your miles per hour, how fast you're going. On the 600 and the 900s, you will have these two buttons here. You'll also have it on the Rally, but the Rally does have another button where you can switch between the Rally, the Eco, and the Sport mode. However, on the 600 and the 900s, these two control the clock, the settings, and switching between the distance traveled and the clock settings. Just to give you a taste on how it looks, I'm just gonna hit the power button real quick. It'll power up for just a few seconds and cut off, but that's how it should look. The center also has this switch right here. It allows you to adjust the handlebars back and forth. I like mine all the way back here because I'm really short. The center also has the entrance to the gas tank. You flip that backwards. I have a 2021 Ryker 600, so we do have the gas cap. On the previous models, there is no gas cap. It just goes straight into the tank. Moving all the way to the right, we do have the engine cutoff switch. It toggles back and forth. It's now in the off position. We got the engine start button right there. It just pushes in. And you've got your throttle. Goes back and forth. Obviously the side mirror. On the left side, we have the parking brake lever. It flips down when you want to go, flips back up whenever you want to put it in park. I did install the locking parking brake levers so no one can take my stuff. A little bit further down on the left side, this is your forward and reverse switch. You either kick it with your foot or grab it with your hand, pull it backwards when you want to go in reverse, or push it forward when you go forward. You've got your left footrest. That does flip up and it moves forward and backward depending on how tall or short you are. Same thing for the right side. All right, coming to the right side of the bike, we've got the right footrest and the brake. The right footrest is adjustable. You flip the footrest up. I'll show you in just a second how the brake adjusts. All right, so to adjust the brake, you put the footrest up like this. You pull the brake out like this, and it'll move and adjust however which way you want. And when you're ready, you just push it back in, make sure it locks into place so your brake's secure, and then you just put the footrest down. In the course, they will also go over the safety card information with you. It just unplugs like this. You twist it until you hear a pop, and then it comes down. There's all your safety information and some other information about the engine oil and the filter. And in the front, we've got the frunk. You just push down and it opens up. You get a little bit of storage space up there. All right, and that is the basic operating equipment for the vehicle. Obviously, you can get more in depth, go under the hood, mess with stuff. But for the course, this is all you really need. The basic first thing you need to know is the startup procedure for the Ryker. All right, so when I took my course, they gave us an anagram or an abbreviation that they called BPESTS. BPESTS. Good way to remember that is siblings can be pests. So the B is going to stand for brakes, so you apply your brakes. The P is going to stand for parking brake, which means deactivating your parking brake lever. The E is going to stand for engine cutoff switch, so you switch that down. The S is going to stand for start button. The T is going to be to throttle away from the bike, away. And then the other S is going to be to start again. And now you've turned on the Ryker. All right, so I do not have a Spyder in front of me, but the Spyder startup procedure is going to be BKEEPS. BKEEPS. Your instructor will walk you through it, but it stands for brake, key, engine cutoff switch, eco mode. For some reason it has to be in eco mode, parking brake turn off, and then the start button. So now that you started up the Ryker, what's going to be next? What exercises are you guys going to do? So the first one they had us do was a stop and go exercise. They will set up some cones along the course, and you will have to go up to the cones, stop, accelerate, stop, accelerate, stop, stop, and go. So a good tip for beginner riders is to not yank the throttle backwards. You're going to go flying forwards, and that's not a good thing. So a good thing to do is to keep a level wrist while you accelerate and gently accelerate. You need to gently accelerate, otherwise you're going to go zooming forward. And when you gently accelerate, it'll almost eliminate the clunk that you'll hear on the bike. So after the basic stop and go procedures, they'll eventually stagger the stop and go, and you'll have to go in a staggered formation. Pretty basic. The next exercise you will most likely do is the turning portion. So you're going to be able to accelerate and then come into a turn, gently turn, and then come around and stop again. There will also be another variation of that. You'll have to accelerate, stop, and then use full lock steering to execute a turn, which the turn will have a few cones. You have to stay in between those cones. And for the folks who don't know what full lock steering is, it means you turn the bike until it can't turn anymore, and that's full lock steering. So the thing to note is that there's going to be a lot of different exercises, a lot of different variations, but they all do have the basic starting, stopping, going, turning, all those together. The thing to remember is to keep your throttle under control, brake when you need to, use engine braking. So engine braking is when you roll off the throttle and you kind of hear that weird sound underneath the Ryker. That is it trying to slow itself down without any brakes, which the Ryker has really good engine braking. All right, so a good tip for everybody for stability reasons. When you guys are sitting on the bike, make sure you sit in the bike. So keep your knees tucked to the tank, like so, and just kind of keep towards the center of the bike. You'll feel a lot more stable. All right, another good tip, guys, is when you're going into turns at a decent speed, lean into the turn as you turn. So if you're turning right, kind of lean into it this way. Keep both your feet on the pegs pretty planted so you don't feel like you're going to fly off. All right, lean into the turn. Another good tip, guys, when you guys have your feet on the brake area over here, don't ride the brake. Don't hover over it like that, because chances are you're probably going to touch it at some point, and you're going to put the bike into limp mode, which is bad. Bad things, don't do that. So limp mode is when a lot of the important parts of the bike get heated up because you're riding the brake. You've got your foot on the brake for some reason, and you're accelerating at the same time. It causes a lot of strain on the bike, and it heats it up really quick. The bike will shut itself off and won't turn on until it's fully cooled down. So what I like to do is kind of keep my foot over here, and if I need to, I can just switch over right there. So as close as you can to the brake, just don't hover over it. Bad things happen when you do that. All right, so another section that you're gonna have is how to run over things properly. A lot of times they'll have you run over like 2x4 boards on the ground. But the important thing to note is try and run over it with one tire. Try and avoid running it over with 2 tires or your whole bike, because that will cause issues. But if you do have to ride over it with all of your tires, they teach you how to do that properly. All right, so some tips on how to run over things properly. Use one tire almost always if you can. If not, you'll have to use the whole bike. If that's the case, that's fine, just do it properly. So the best way to do it is, so you don't get thrown off the bike, is to keep your hands on the handlebars here and just lift your butt up just a little bit. So that way the bike has some room to move just in case there is a little bit of an impact. This method also applies for big bumps in the road, large cracks, other road hazards of that nature. All right, so there comes a point in the course where you do have to do some swerving techniques as well. They will set up some cones, make you go a certain speed. I think it's like 25, and then you have to swerve either left or right, whichever way they tell you. That kind of simulates like if you're coming up on a bus and there's some kids on a certain side, you have to swerve on a certain side to avoid that. Now in that case, swerving is more of like its own learning curve. I can't really tell you how to swerve or what the best way to swerve is. You just kind of have to get the hang of it. It's all a combination of decelerating, braking, and turning at the same time, and making sure you don't flip or skid the bike. So with that said, your instructor is going to be there to assist you into adjusting your technique and what way to do it. That's what they're there for. Another section that you'll do as well, it's kind of changing lanes, merging simulation, where you have to check your mirrors, put on your blinker, look, and then get over. That's pretty simple, not too hard. We do it every day in our cars. It's just on a bike this time. There will also be a simulation of highway riding, just not at the same speed. I think you're going like 20 to 30 miles an hour, depending on what your course looks like. But you and your classmates will line up. There will be a lot of cones around, simulating a highway type environment. You'll enter the highway and your classmates will follow, but they'll have to look and merge onto the course, which is pretty cool. That's one of my favorite parts because you get to go a little bit faster and you kind of get to know what it's like riding on the highway. So the final thing you will do is what they call the celebration of skills. At least that's what my instructor called it. It's basically taking everything that you learned in the course within the 2 or the 3 days, depending on what option you picked for the course, and putting it all together back to back, and that's when you'll get your scores for the writing portion. Now, as far as the classroom time, guys, this book right here, which is most likely going to be the one that you get, is the Holy Bible. Read this, study this, make sure you pay attention in class. It is important. The only issue I had was this diagram right here. Whenever we got the test, the diagram was really dark, so we couldn't really tell which buttons were which. So we had to ask the instructor, which gave us maybe one free question. But I cannot stress enough, guys, make sure you flip through the book, make sure you read it. The instructor will go through it with you, but make sure you pay attention. Pay attention, study the material, and you will pass. So if you're wanting to, try and go online, try and find diagrams like that, try and find a PDF version of the book, because it'll help so much. It's a great learning tool. Make sure you study it, and your chances of passing are way up here. Now, I can't guarantee everyone's gonna pass if you watch this video. I'm not saying that. Everyone has their own learning pace, their learning style. Hopefully this video has helped you guys. If it did, drop a comment. Or if you're gonna go take a course, drop a comment saying what bike you wanna ride, what bike you wanna get. So that's it for today, guys. If you liked the video, drop a comment down below. I love suggestions. Comment, like, subscribe, all that crazy goodness. I'll see you guys on the next one.